Greetings, TVR2A. This is your video walkthrough for Lab 8. This is a Pro Tools lab using a Mac and Pro Tools Intro. This is the 30-second PSA commercial with a music bed. Now the things you'll need from prior labs will be the music bed that you created with GarageBand. So you'll need that file, that MP3 file. You should have it there on your computer. That will serve as your music bed. And then you're also going to need to look at the script, which is right here. It says PSA script. You can go ahead and download that and then pull it off the screen or print it. This is an actual commercial. And you'll want to have it available so that you can talk into your microphone, but at the same time be able to see it as well. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and notice it's an insurance commercial. And we'll see that my music bed is right here. It says GD music bed, and remember this is from that GarageBand. I'll just play a few seconds of it. Yeah, and that's one that we had created during that last lab. So make sure you have access to it because you will be importing that into your Pro Tools session. Okay, the last few things you'll need is make sure that you scroll down and take a look at these two items. Now this first one, most of you should not need to download this. This is just a worst case scenario if you can't figure out how to record your mic into Pro Tools. Then you'll just have to use this audio track, and this is a voice, and you'll be bringing that into Pro Tools instead. But the preference, the best scenario for you is to go ahead and go through the process of recording your actual voice into Pro Tools. Okay, but if you try it for an hour or so and you can't get it to work, then you can go ahead and download this vocal track, and then you'll use that as the PSA commercial. It has some problems, so you'll need to do some edits, just like you would if you were to record it. Okay, so you may or may not need to actually download this particular file. Okay, and then the second download, again, this is just emergency worst case scenario, is if you did not complete that music bed assignment, that lab, then you'll be using this music as your music bed. So you'll be downloading this. Again, most of you, if not all of you, already completed that music loop assignment. Remember, we created that 45-second music bed, and that's the file you'll be using instead of this. Okay, but again, just this is worst case scenario if you don't have either of those things. All right, also you scroll down, you will see I have some instructions. Also have a link here. This particular lab will require you to find some sound effects from the internet, and you'll be using those as part of this PSA commercial. And if you are having issues with that, I do have some generic sound effects that you can download here and use as you see fit. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of different things that is culminating into this particular lab. And the result is going to be a finished 30-second fully produced commercial, PSA commercial with your voice, along with your music bed, and along with a few sound effects that you add to kind of spice up the actual production. And then you'll bounce the whole thing, and then you've got 5 questions here to respond to as a comment. All right, so let's go ahead and begin. So first is let's go ahead and launch Pro Tools Intro. We're at the setup of our session page. So we're going to go ahead and give this a name, and we'll go ahead and call this 30-second PSA with music bed. Now I'm going to put my initials after it so I can tell whose it is. So you put your last initials. First name, last name, initials. Local storage, prompt for location, file type. This is all standard stuff. Remember in here you can click that stereo mix. That helps sometimes. Checkmark interleave. And then down here towards the bottom, I'm clicking on the right-hand corner. It says create. It asks me where it's going to go. I always like to put this into that projects folder that we had created that first week of our labs. Go ahead and place it there. All right, we're in Pro Tools. I do want to double check my playback engine, so I'll go to Setup menu. And remember, I'm using this aggregate device that I have created because I'll be using the built-in microphone on the computer to record into it. But I also have a microphone set up that I'm using for this video, so 2 different mics. So yours might end up being, might say built-in audio, or it might say Mac Pro microphone, or MacBook Pro speakers, whatever you might be using. But in this case, since I'm going to be using my own customized setup, I'm choosing aggregate device. And then I'll click OK. All right, so I like to go ahead and make sure that I'm in slip mode. I'm using the Smart tool, which is all 3 of these tools. It's trimmer, selector, grabber. And then I'm looking at minutes and seconds here at the top. All right, so that's step 1. Step 2 is add a mono track and name it voice. So Shift Command in. It's 1 new mono audio track, and I'll name it voice. I can name it right here in this window and click create, and now it shows up right here. I'm going to do a zoom, letter T. I'm going to zoom in that far so I can see the seconds passing by. All right, now I need to make sure my mic is all set up, so I'm going to be speaking right into my laptop. And I'll go ahead and test the level when I hit the record. But let's go ahead and go to the mixer page, which is Command equals. And in here, what I'm trying to do is just make sure that my input is set properly. Now remember, you're going to need to click in here. That's the input. You're going to choose interface. And then whatever your options are here, you're looking for the one that's your built-in microphone. Mine's Mac mic. If you're using a USB mic, for example, like you've plugged it in, you might see your USB mic here. Again, this has to do with your playback engine. So sometimes if you can't get any sound in, you might have to go change that playback engine and just keep trying different options until you can get your mic to show up. So mine says Mac mic, and then the output is my main output. And now when I press on the record enable button for that track, check 1 2 1 2. That's the microphone now coming directly from the computer. All right, so let's go ahead and see what happens here. Check 1 2 1 2. So let's go ahead and record that in. All right, so I hit return key. I can see when I talk, I'm not, oops, I went a little hot there, so I'm going to just back off a little bit, and I'm going to clear that peak. I'm going to back up, maybe I'm about 2 feet from my computer here. Okay, about 2 feet away. Notice I have a lot of noise. So they got the fan from the computer making a lot of noise, and the room's a little bit noisy. But I do need to make sure I can see the script, so I'm dragging it here to the right. Okay, so let me give you a little guidance when you're going to record this script. You are going to record this as quickly as you can when you're talking. What I mean is there's a lot of words to get through, and because this is a 30-second commercial, you need to speak as fast as you can. So do not take liberty and big pauses and be dramatic about anything. Your goal is to read all of these words as quickly as possible. That's your goal. And most people can read it. If they're going fast, it'll be about 28 seconds or so. And that gives you a little bit of space to add your music at the beginning and have a fade out at the end. Now, also, second part is when you're reading this, you don't have to worry if you mess something up. So if you mix up a word or you make an error or you mispronounce something, you don't need to stop and re-record. All you'll do is just pause yourself, take a breath, back up a couple words, and then continue on. Once you have the whole vocal track recorded, you can then go back in and you'll be editing out any mistakes that you made, just like we have in our other labs. So remember, you're talking as quickly as possible. And if you make a mistake, which I plan you will, so I would hope you make a few mistakes, you do not stop the recording. Instead, you just take a breath, back up a couple words, and continue. And remember, you got to speak fast. All right, I'm going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to hit the 3 key on my numeric keypad because I have an extended keyboard. You can just hit record and play right here if you want. And I don't need to see my mixer anymore, so I'll click on this window. Okay, it's recording, and here I go. 3, 2, 1. Right now, millions of kids up to the age 19 are eligible for free or low-cost health insurance through Medicaid and the Children's Hospital Insurance Program. Your child could be one of them. In fact, children in a family of 4 earning $48,600 a year or more may qualify. Regular checkups, immunizations, doctor and dentist visits, hospital care, mental health services, prescriptions, and more are covered. It's a helping hand for parents with their hands full. For more information or to enroll today, go to healthcare.gov. That's healthcare.gov. All right, so you heard that I made a few little minor mistakes, but I did speak relatively quick. You can see I'm going over 44 seconds, so obviously I have some editing to do to pare this down. But ideally, I'm going to go ahead and start editing through this track, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and disable the recording for this track so it doesn't accidentally give me kind of squeal or feedback. I do have my headphones plugged into my computer, by the way, so that I don't accidentally get a feedback squeal when I'm recording with that mic. So remember, if you're going to use your MacBook microphone, built-in mic, you do need to turn your speakers off. And the best way I've found to do that is just plug in a pair of headphones into your computer, and then that automatically turns off the speaker. All right, now we want to go back and listen to this. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and hit the return key, and I'm going to listen back to this recording. Okay, it's recording, and here I go. 3, 2, 1. Right now, millions of kids up to the age 19 are eligible for free or low cost. Okay, so I can hear it in my headphones. It is a noisy signal. I expect it to be pretty noisy because I'm using the built-in mic on my laptop. And again, I've got the fan on the computer, so it's making a whole lot of noise. I'll just have to deal with that for now. If I use an actual built-in mic, I'm not built-in. If I used a USB mic, it would sound better. But for the process, for this lab, all I need to do is make sure I have the audio in, and then I'm going to edit out those errors and mistakes. All right, so that puts me at, let's see, I've just gone through, remember to save often. So I'm going to go ahead and go through, it's like the 5th step on my list, where it says cut out any errors, noise, listen carefully for any glitches, etc. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'll make my particular edits. Your edits are going to be different. And then when I come back, I will have this all trimmed down so that it's within the time frame. Okay? So let's go ahead and pause. You'll do the same thing. You can pause it, make all of your edits on this voice, and then we'll come back. So remember, I deactivated the record enable button. I'm using spacebar to play. I'm using the return key to go back to the beginning. I'm in Smart Tool mode here. Currently, I'm in slip mode. I will bounce back and forth depending on what I need to do. So if I do shuffle, it will slide the stuff on the right to the left. Okay, and we'll be back soon. And I'm back. So I went ahead and did my edits. It took me about 20 minutes or so. You'll see that now I have a bunch of little splits, little different clips here as I scroll to the right. I did find myself really having to chop out as much silence as I could. And even then, it still got me about 28.5 seconds. So that's where I was at, and I did a little tiny fast fade out at the end. So if we want to go ahead and listen to this, I'll go ahead and hit the space bar. Right now, millions of kids up to the age 19 are eligible for free or low-cost health insurance through Medicaid and the Children's Hospital Insurance Program. Your child could be one of them. In fact, children in a family of 4 earning $48,600 a year or more may qualify. Regular checkups, immunizations, doctor and dentist visits, hospital care, mental health services, prescriptions, and more are covered. It's a helping hand for parents with their hands full. For more information or to enroll today, go to healthcare.gov. That's healthcare.gov. All right, so you see what I mean. It's almost 29 seconds. And so you got to make sure that you're within that 30-second mark. This will give me a little bit of space to have maybe a little bit of music at the end or something like this. All right. Also do Command S so you save all your work just in case anything goes wrong. And now I'm looking at my instructions. It says using the music bed loop from the prior lab, import this into a stereo audio track. This can be done either dragging and dropping or through the import menu. I'll go ahead and do the drag and drop since that will be the quickest. And to drag and drop it, I'm going to go ahead and locate where that music bed was. Remember, you put it into your projects. And I'm looking for GD music bed. And the drag and drop is a great feature here because watch what's going to happen. I'm going to click and I'm going to drag it with my mouse. And I'm just going to put it right here below the voice. And there it is. And now if I even hit return and play, I'll hear that music while I'm speaking. Right now, millions of kids up to the age... All right, so you can hear how the music track is in there along with the music. Now what I'll do is I'm going to turn that down a little bit. I have... let me see if I can shrink this down a little bit so you could see the bottom of the tracks too. All right, now you can see the name there, but my music's still a little too loud. I'm going to turn it to about here and listen. Right now, millions of kids up to the age 19 are eligible for free. Okay, I like that a little bit better. So let's hear it again. Right now, millions of kids up to the age 19 are eligible for free or low-cost health insurance. And the children. Nice. All right, so I've got my music, I have my voice, and remember it's all edited. And now I'm ready to go ahead and go to my next step here. So it says to find 2 sound effects from the internet and drop those into the session as well. All right, so for finding the sounds from the internet, what I'm going to go ahead and do is jump into the browser. And I'm going to use a site that's called pixabay.com. And then I'm going to click on the sound effects tab. And this is a great resource for free sounds, royalty-free sounds. A lot of them are very professional sounding. We need to find 2 for this lab. So we need to think to ourselves, if this is an insurance commercial, what type of sound effects might we hear in a commercial like that? So off the top of my head, I feel like since it's talking about healthcare and kids, maybe coughing or something. So I'm going to type in coughing and let's see what I get here. This says coughing man. Let's see what that's. Wow. All right. That's a significant cough. Let's hear about the second one. All right, maybe let me be a little more specific. Let's call this coughing like child. Maybe there's a child cough. I know it's hard to see on my screen, but there is something here if I scroll down a little bit. Let's see here. Child cough. Oh yeah, that one sounds good. Nice and juicy. All right, so let's go ahead and download it. You can ignore this screen, just exit. And then grab your file, which is this child cough, and you're just going to drag it right into your project drive. So I'm going to put that into my project drive for the class. To my documents. And then in our projects. And I'm just going to place that right in there. All right, and then I would need a second sound. So maybe something like some sort of dentist. I like the dentist thing. He talks about dentist, so what about like a dentist drill or something? All right. All right, so evil dentist. I like the sound of that. Bzzz. So let's download that one. And you're going to do the same thing, ignore, and then go ahead and place that sound into your, I'm going to drag it into my project drive as my project folder, just like before. All right, and that's there. Now we can go ahead and get out of that screen and get back into Pro Tools. All right, so now you're going to go locate those sound effects that you just downloaded and saved into your screen. I'm just trying to get this screen a little bit better here. And you're going to drag them and drop them right here. So I'm going to go ahead and go to Mine, Documents, Projects. I got the cough. So I'm going to go ahead and click and drag that one here. And simply drag and drop. And then I'm going to grab that other one that I had, which was the dentist drill. So let's get that one too. Evil dentist. I wonder why they call it evil. Alright, so there's my two new tracks. Notice when I drag and drop, Pro Tools automatically creates the necessary track. So these are both stereo sound effects. You can see it has a left and a right. And Pro Tools is automatically creating that file for me, that channel for me, or that track. And then it lets me freely place it wherever I want. All right, so now I get to place this exactly where I want it. I'm going to be in slip mode. I do want to rename these because I don't like the numbers. So I'm going to put cough instead of all those numbers. I'm going to do the same thing to that dentist. Instead of evil dentist, I'm just going to put it drill. Okay, so I have cough, drill, my music bed, and let's try to fit these in. All right, so those two sound effects have been dragged onto appropriate tracks, and now let's go ahead and give it a listen. The age 19 are eligible for free or low-cost health insurance. All right, so that's that cough. Now, I had already dragged it right about where I like it, but it is a little too loud. So let's go ahead and turn that cough down a little bit and give it a listen. The age 19 are eligible for free or low-cost health insurance. Okay, that's better. And then let's figure out where we want to put this dentist drill thing. Immunizations, doctor and dentist visits, hospital care, mental health services. As soon as he says doctor and dentist visits, I want the drill to kick in. Immunizations, doctor and dentist visits, hospital. A little sooner. Immunizations, doctor and dentist visits, hospital care, mental health services, prescriptions, and more are covered. It's a helping hand for parents. Nice. All right, when the drill gets really loud right here, I am going to cut that away so it just stops after the high-pitched squeal. Immunizations, doctor and dentist visits, hospital care, mental health services, prescriptions, and more are covered. It's a helping hand for parents. And I'm going to do real fast fade on that clip. Upper right-hand corner, it does turn into a little fade tool, so I'm going to click with the little box. Prescriptions and more are covered. It's a helping hand for parents with their hands full. For more information or to enroll today, go to healthcare.gov. That's healthcare.gov. Nice. All right, let's save. Command S. And then, referring to where steps are, now we've done about the middle where it says add a stereo master fader track. So that's a shift command in to create one new stereo, and then where it says audio track, click that down to master fader, and then click create. It's going to put it hopefully at the bottom of your list. If it doesn't, you can always drag it. It also will put it to the right hand side. If it shows up somewhere else, just click on it and drag it way to the right. The master fader is the overall volume for everything that's flowing through the session. And the reason we like to use that in this case is we're going to do a little fade out and a fade in. And we want to do it on the master fader so that it takes care of all sounds. Okay, let's go ahead and do this. This will be sort of fun. So we're going to automate this to fade in, and we're going to do that from the beginning. So what I'm going to do is, and we're going to take a look at this solid red line. Now in the instructions, it mentions that it could be a black line. So it depends on your computer. It's going to be a solid line, whatever it is. It's on the master fader. So if it's black or red or blue, doesn't matter, because that is the volume line. And in order for us to have a little fade in at the beginning, I am going to need to move this voice track over. I'm going to grab everything, because the voice, I don't want the voice to fade in. So I'm going to go about 1 second or so. Let's go about here. So that gives me a little moment for the drums to fade in, and then the voice will kick in. So I don't want the fade to happen when I'm speaking. So here you're going to see a little white dot. I'm going to go to the right of it about 1 inch. I'm going to hold the command key, and it gives me the finger with a plus, and I'm going to click a second dot in. That's like a keyframe or a data point, and I'm doing it just on that master fader track. And then you're going to grab that first dot, and you're going to drag it all the way as far down as you can to the bottom. And this is going to create your fade in like this. So you can see now when I play it.
Right now,
all right, it fades in for the drums. And then it starts to speak. All right. At least that's what should be happening. All right, so now I'm going to put it in the master fader fade out at the very end. So let's go towards the end.
They go to healthcare.gov. That's healthcare.gov.
I am going to just get a little more music, about this much more.
.gov.
And then I'm going to allow myself to do a little fade out. It's going to be fast. It's going to start right about here when the last word happens. I'm holding command key. And I'm going to click once and then go to the right about 1 inch, ½ inch, click again. I'm going to drag that second dot as far down as I can. Also, I'm in Smart Tool mode, and I'm in slip mode.
Healthcare.gov.
All right, nice. So it does .gov, and then the music just fades out so quick. So that gives you your fade in at the beginning. It gives you your fade out at the end. Make sure that your words are not fading out or fading in, but the music should be the thing that's being affected the most. The last few steps are to go ahead and use an insert. And an insert is a plug-in. We're going to plug in a sound, like a sound processor, like a signal processor, like a reverb or echo or delay or something. And these are, we call these plugins because we're actually going to insert them right into this little section where it says inserts A-E. And we're taking this virtual bit of software, in this case it's a compressor, and we're going to insert it or plug it into the signal path of the voice, and it's going to give us a different sound. In this case, the compressor is going to kind of help beef up the voice. So this step says insert a compressor plugin Dyne3 compressor / limiter onto the voice. So go to your voice track, go to the top where it says insert A, click it once, go to plugin, move the mouse over to the right to the dynamics category, move your mouse to the right, and you're looking for the one that says DYN3 compressor / limiter, and it says mono, just single click. It's going to bring up your compressor settings. You don't need to be concerned with all of these knobs. All you're going to do is find a preset, which is right under the preset heading. It says factory default, and then down towards the bottom it says vocal comp. Well, we're going to single click that in, and that just gave us a little more presence on the voice. And you can close it with the upper left hand corner red dot. All right, so compressor is on the voice. The next one says insert a plug-in of my choice on one of the sound effects tracks. So let's go to my cough. You can do whatever you want. You're going to have different sound effects. And I'm going to insert something that's not a compressor, but let's go ahead and see what my options are. So I just clicked once again. I'm going to go to the delay, and I'm going to choose mod delay number 3. And I'm going to drag these little orange sliders over to the left. And let's hear what that does to my voice. I mean, not my voice, the cough. It kind of it goes cough, cough, cough. Kind of doubles it up, doesn't it? All right, that's kind of neat. You're going to pick whatever you want, but I just picked a delay, for example. All right, that's in, so I can close that with the upper left-hand corner red dot. And then the last thing says, insert a reverb plugin, multi-channel, onto your music track. Keep the reverb sound subtle with a wet to dry level at about 10%. All right, let's go ahead and do that one. So I'm going to go to my music track, which is right here. I'm going to go to the top, and I'm going to choose multi-channel plugin, reverb, and then let's go ahead and use the deverb. And it says stereo because it's a stereo track. Now this is like a long reverb, so it sounds like the music's coming from like a stage, like in a performance hall or something. You'll notice if you keep it at 100% wet, what happens to the music? It sounds very like kind of distant, right? So that's just 100% reverb, which is why we need to draw this to the left. We're going to put it at about 10%. So go ahead and slide it all the way to the left until it says 10. And now when we play it, a little more subtle. Okay, a little more subtle. All right, and again, you can close that upper left-hand corner with the red dot. All right, now you listen to the whole thing. I think I'm happy with mine, and I'm ready to do the bounce mix. So the bounce mix, first step is you have to highlight everything in terms of the time. So here's that last dot. I'm going to go up to where that is, which is right about here. And I'm going to click and drag to the left in the timeline. You see how it says 0204? That's my little timeline. So I'm drawing a selection of time in essence. Okay. And if you want to get a little bit closer, if I hold the shift key, I can go even a little further like that. Just make sure it's within that, you have that last little dot. Make sure that you have all of your outputs matching. So all the outputs on mine says main. So this I just had to do for this example. But yours should all match exactly the same. So you ignore the 3/4 on mine. And make sure nothing's muted or soloed. All right, now you can go to File menu and you can choose Bounce Mix. In here, you're going to go ahead and give this a name. You're going to put your initials. And it's going to be PSA with music. It's MP3. Mix source will be whatever your outputs were. I have to change mine. And then everything else looks good. Interleave, make sure yours says interleave. Don't let it say multiple mono. And then here, left corner, click offline, and it's going to go into the bounce files folder. Click bounce. Give it an MP3 tag. I don't need to do anything here. Just click OK. Very good. I can Command S to save, and I can Command Q to quit. And now go locate it. So it's going to be in your projects. It'll be in the name of this thing that was called 30-second PSA with music bed. And then in there, there's a bounce files folder. And then there is that file.
Right now, millions of kids up to the age 19 are eligible for free.
So I can hear it. It worked. That's going to be the file that I submit. Now you go back into Canvas. You go ahead and click Start Assignment. Scroll up so you can find that rocket ship. Go find your MP3. Remember, it's going to be in that bounce files. It says GD, PSA, yours says your initials. I'm going to click and drag that to the rocket ship. And then I'm going to click on Comments and respond to the 5 questions that you see here. Once you have that ready, go ahead and click Submit Assignment. And then you're done. So hopefully you had fun, you got creative, and then I'll give it a listen and give you some feedback. If you have questions, feel free to drop me a message. Enjoy.